And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Litchfield County Sports Program. I'm your host, Tim Gaffney, and yes, I'm ready to hit. I'm about ready to hit any day of the week, but I think I'll leave the hitting to the guy to my right, Torrington High School's own Dom Sabia, going into his junior year. Welcome to the program, Mr. Sabia.
Thank you, Mr. Gaffney.
How are you?
It's a pleasure.
It's absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit of Torrington High School sports. We're going to talk a little bit about your career. We're going to talk about why you're not a Met fan. I have to ask every person that's on my show.
Man.
We'll all right, let's just start there. How long have you been a Yankee fan?
I would have to say it was started probably when I was born. I mean, ever since,
you were in
my
that
dad,
outfit?
if I come home, I'll go to the mall or something, I'll buy a hat.
Uh-huh.
And if it's not Yankees, he'll be like, "Oh, what do you jump the fence? You go into a different team." So I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know if switching teams is a good thing." So I just been a Yankees fan.
And now I agree with your objective because you need to stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a Met fan, so we always get to use the word long-suffering.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to own it. You can't switch to whoever the next team is that's the best. And get this one, too. I'm a Jet fan, too. Wow.
I don't really have a favorite
really
football team.
No?
I don't watch it enough. I don't watch football
You're too busy
enough.
playing baseball, right?
Exactly.
And a Knicks fan. So I'm extraordinarily used to losing. And what I know about the Mets is that I don't have to worry about anything in the fall. Like everybody's got to stay up late and stuff. I'm good.
Yeah.
I can just work. I can just do sports and the rest because I don't have to stay up in October.
Right,
You know what I mean? The
exactly.
last time I remember was when, what was that? That was the Wainwright pitch to Carlos Beltran, who you now have. And he'll get hurt in a matter of weeks here. And I had the hand on the remote to turn it off. And I knew he was going to strike out because he had to. You know what I mean? Because that was the game where what's-his-face went over the left-hand fence and Yadier Molina hit the home run. And it was heartbreaking. And since then, we've had nothing. And as a couple of weeks back, by the time you folks see this, we're just coming off of the fiasco of the Mets trying to trade for Carlos Gomez from the Milwaukee Brewers. Now watch, by the time this comes on, it probably would have happened. No, it wouldn't. It's the Mets, right? So I think it came down to dollars, even though the Mets will never say it did, because ever since the Mets have had this Madoff excuse that Bernie Madoff took all of their money, to a Met fan, we have to do comedy with it because it's so pathetic if you don't, so last night you had the poor, this was last night, 2 weeks ago, and you see this, the Mets shortstop, he was crying. Now, I know there's no crying in baseball, but I understand the emotion.
I understand it too.
You know what
it gets emotional at times.
Right.
You can't help
you've been
it.
a lifelong, ball player. 16 years old is when you started with the Mets. And I think nowadays, with all the social media and the rest of it, that didn't come out 20 years ago.
No.
Fans are not yelling to him that, oh, by the way, you've been traded in the middle of a game. Normally, if you're traded, you're not kept in that game. You're automatically out of the game.
Sit down with the manager, the coach, and they'll talk about it with you. But
well, that's you in 10 years, my friend.
I hope so. I hope so.
Right, but that social media ain't going to get any easier.
No. I hope so.
It's probably going to get a little rougher. But then the day after that event occurs, the Mets blow a 6-run lead, and lose the game. And talking about the trading deadline with how much they should do and the rest of it, the Mets have great pitching. And
they
just
do
stick
have great
with
pitching.
the great pitching. 86, 69, back to Seaver, Gooden throughout those. Start with the pitching. Because we know once it gets to the postseason, you and I were talking beforehand, the Yankees might struggle in the postseason.
The Yankees, Who
knows?
The bats are only going to last for so long.
You don't have the youngest bats in the world. You know what I mean? So
A-Rod just turned 40.
That's what I'm saying. Well, what is your opinion on A-Rod now? Now, are you because he's doing good, we're happy, or are you still kind of
he was still a good player before when he first got drafted into the league. But I think most guys, after they get with the whole steroid thing, the next year after, you don't see them playing as well as they did. Usually there's that 1 year that they're just getting back into the groove,
Right.
But I got to say, he is playing really, really well.
Grady Sizemore, 50 home runs for the Orioles when he was on roids. And then
I was sitting in my bed in Virginia at the hotel, and I was watching TV, and it says, top of the ninth, going in. A-Rod has 2 home runs. Can you get another one? 5 minutes later, I'm watching ESPN, pops up. His third home run, tie game. I was like, oh, my God.
You think he
does it with ease.
It was always so tough, I think, to root for A-Rod before the steroid thing for me, I love Jeter.
Yeah,
Didn't care about
Jeter was the name
you
of
need
the
to model
team.
yourself after Jeter. Stay out of
I
trouble.
hope so.
Keep your nose
Definitely.
clean. Play your game. Nobody needs to know too much about your
Nope.
personal life and the rest
Never.
of it. And I always felt that A-Rod wanted to be Jeter. You know
Definitely,
what I mean?
definitely.
There was a little bit of that animosity.
Especially when they
I don't want to play third, you know.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
actually what I was going to say. When they first both got on the same team, they had that little
Right.
about the shortstop and third base, but
Right. Nobody, you know. So Derek Jeter was hard to root against. A-Rod never really was hard to root against because he seemed very phony. And, you know, it goes way back to a long time before you were born with Richard Nixon.
yeah.
You know? Stop lying. It's actually not the crime. It's the cover-up.
Exactly.
It just happened again with Brady.
Yep.
I just destroyed my phone, by the way, just so that everybody
Yeah,
knows.
yeah,
So
yeah.
in case anybody's looking for something, I destroy my phone.
Yeah, they
every
won't be able to
couple of
get it.
months. It's all good, you know. But it isn't the crime. It's the cover-up. And it was the same thing with A-Rod. Don't sit there in front of the cameras and almost cry to me and say, you know, I never did steroids. We are a forgiving people. So if you tell us
it's going to come out sooner or
you
later.
messed up, then we're going to say, okay, you messed up. Now, we might give you another chance, but if you continue to mess up, Henry Mejia for the Mets, right?
Yep.
You come off an 80-game suspension and you get 162
Yeah,
game
that
suspension.
must be
you
real
can't
nice.
teach stupid sometimes. I think it's just there because
Sometimes it is.
how hard are you and every other kid your age going to have to try to work to be one of that very small percentage that ever makes it?
Probably every day you got to be out there doing a little bit of something.
Right.
Even if it's 15, 20 minutes, you got to be doing something every day.
And then you're going to, you know, blow it all away with, like, horse steroids or something.
Yeah, I don't know how you could do that. You made it that far to get in there. How are you
Yeah.
just going to blow it away like that?
And I always thought, I mean, pitchers, I know they use it to heal more, your fast. It's not putting more on your fastball or anything like that. I mean, Roger Clemens obviously had a little roid rage.
Yeah,
I would think that
right?
was, if they went to the clinic, it probably was throw the bat at the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Your temper's
That'll
under
work,
control,
that'll work.
Roger. Nice to see that.
Get the job done.
You know, it would have been an impaling job on most shows, but I mean, at least it didn't work that way. But, you know, that's where it's been, you know, tough. But I mean, I still remember back to the days, you know, and you probably did as you grew up watching baseball. You know, my place was Shea Stadium. So when I first stepped out there, you know, with my father, probably back in the 60s, probably the mid-60s, late 60s, it really is that corny thing about the green grass.
Yeah.
There's never greener grass than there
I
is
know.
at a ball field. I don't care what house you're looking
No.
at. And the smell and the hot dogs and the
Yeah.
rest of it. So I think that kind of gets you.
The vendors.
It kind of gets you
Doesn't
hooked.
get better than that,
You
yeah.
know? And I never was one of those, I don't care where I sit, I'm in the park. You know, and when
Yeah.
I'm at the park, 9 out of 10 times I'm keeping score because I did since I was a kid. Not just because I do it for a living, but just because I like to be able to go back to it and say, oh yeah, remember that bottom of the ninth squeeze play or whatever it was, you know. So, you know, those are the good memories that baseball.
It's almost like in our high school season, we're playing at Fusion, which is a nice park. Then we go on to Dodge Stadium. It just like it pumps you up more when you get out there. You're playing on such a nice field, walking dugouts, this and that. It's just like the whole atmosphere, the whole stands behind you. It just pumps you up a little bit more than a normal game does.
Because you went to Dodge Stadium this year, right?
Yep, and the year before.
And last year?
Yep.
And that's something. I mean, you got
It's
professional
a lot of fun.
teams that are playing there. So that's an environment.
Yeah.
And you guys are lucky, like we say, playing in Fusions Park.
Yeah.
You know,
for
most
home
teams-
field, I got to say, there's a lot of schools at their home field. I mean, it doesn't come close to that.
Right.
We
You
got
have
a good
fence,
side for
you
that.
know, you got all those things.
I mean, it sucks with the two fences. I mean,
Yeah.
you see with Kobe. He hit it between the fences, and it's a ground rule double.
Yes. Oh, that famous one this year, and poor Kobe hit that ball that I
man.
still think hasn't come down.
That was like the
And
first
it was
game.
so funny because it was so dry. No,
I
actually,
know.
back then it would just melted, so it was so wet.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have bounced anything off of that outfield, you know, warning track if you tried.
You would throw something into the ground, it would probably make a divot in
It
the
would
ground. It
stay.
wouldn't come back
yeah,
up.
it wasn't going. But then he did hit one. You know, he hit that grand slam against Thomaston.
Yep.
Right in the bottom.
Now,
I think it was
that'll
that
be
was
a
extra
game that will
innings,
last a lifetime. Definitely.
He was definitely beyond, you know, pumped for that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
That was a great battle against Thomaston.
Yes, it was.
Thomaston boys and girls. I
Went
mean,
down.
for us. They're great because the girls just win championships. The boys team is always so. I think that's a nice rivalry for you guys at a league.
Yeah, I hope we keep playing them. I enjoyed playing them this year, especially because they're
chippy.
Yeah.
There's something about. I think there was a kiss blow.
Yeah, there was. I was on second base when that happened. Yeah, I was on second base.
What was it, shortstop, second baseman, or was the catcher doing it? Who was
It was the catcher that was doing it.
All right,
And he
all
came
right.
out to the pitcher. and he blew me kisses. And I didn't know what he wanted out of it, but I mean,
a little gamesmanship.
Yeah,
a little bit of
a
chip.
little bit.
Well, it's blue collar against blue collar. I think in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think you like that attitude. Coach Bobby McMahon's a good friend of ours, and I think he instills that in his kids, like Coach Richardson does. Well, let's play the game a little tough.
Yeah.
I mean, have a takeout slide a second, make it a clean one, but don't come up 8 feet short.
Yeah.
Make sure the shortstop or second baseman knows you're coming, because the whole idea is to make them react a little differently so they can't get the throw off.
Definitely. You don't want to make it so it automatic 2 outs.
Right,
you want to do it cleanly.
Get out of the way, you want to do. So we were talking earlier today, I mean, baseball since you were about 7 years old, right?
Yep, that's about right.
What started you, what gave you that little ping?
Once I grabbed the bat and I was playing T-ball, it just hitting, it just felt right. It just felt right. It was definitely the bat. I got to say. And then Little League came, and I started pitching, and I was like, I got a little gas on it, and then got older, and it didn't last long. did not last long at all. But then it came with the bat. It was definitely the bat.
Everybody decides what ends up being their strength, and it was the bat for you. Yeah.
Definitely hitting.
I remember back when I was in high school, I didn't play for my high school team, but I played after high school, and I wasn't the biggest kid in the world. I played shortstop. Buddy Harrelson was my idol. Little guy, but played with a ton of heart, and I loved making that long throw from short. Because you see a smaller kid, you don't think he can make the throw, and I always kind of had a gun. And then I pitched, because I liked pitching for one reason. People didn't know where the ball was going. Yeah. Most times I didn't either. And there was a certain amount of power in that. You know what I mean? I threw a one-hitter was my claim to fame, one time, and I loved pitching. To this day, if I throw out a first pitch, there's no bouncing.
Oh, no.
You either go long or you go home.
Yeah.
There's none of this bouncing 50 cent over there. No, sorry. Throw the ball to the plate. You know what I mean? Get the ball.
Definitely.
Don't try a curve or a knuckle or something like that.
A knuckleball would be pretty. That would be pretty cool.
I was thinking of it. I mean, I am fortunate enough this year with Eddie Godomsky and Tri-State. I'm being inducted into the Tri-State Hall of Fame on August 19th, and I will get a first pitch. I have thought the knuckleball.
You might want to get it nice and smooth.
I think you and I have to go out and have a little toss or something so that I can get the distance going. And I got to go 66, so I got to make sure I'm there because
you won't be expecting it at home plate.
Oh, no. You got to go a little dip. You try to throw the curve, something's going to happen. Your arm's going to fall off. It'd be ugly and stuff like that. So, actually, that game that you were talking about, the alumni game, Coach Carbone and I were throwing because little known fact, but he does know this, is that the Carbones raised their family in my house. 2 owners before us.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now I blame Coach for everything that goes wrong. But I knew there was a great connection there between the families and the rest of it because we kind of all grew up together. I mean, for us it's just a lot of fun to watch you guys play what you play in all the sports, at Torrington. And I think, like in Coach Richardson's case, he's trying to bring back the pride. I mean, take over for Jerry Carbone's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Taking over for a legendary, coach, and we think he's done, a great job. And I think next year, like you said, with the alumni game, we start promoting it a little bit earlier. You're talking about getting some more of the older guys together, maybe do a little mix of the teams so you can go 9-on-9. And coach don't have to run because guys our age, we don't need to be running the bases, right?
Yeah,
we
need to
go
run for
like this, steal second, go, just whatever.
Be the base coaches.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember one of my coaches.
Suit up, be an umpire.
Your good friend, Mike Fritsch Sr. We just saw him out in San Diego, and when he was coaching, he had one side for stealing. Come on, just go. Just go. You can know I'm going, and if I'm fast, you're probably not going to get me anyway. I saw a couple of guys this year, I think even in your league, where they started using numbers. Have you seen that before?
Yep, Oxford was one team that did it. They were calling out 30 different numbers, and you're just like, all right, well, it's hard to catch on to, but...
Yeah, that's just lazy. Come on.
Yeah.
Old school. You
got to go the signs. You definitely got to go the signs.
What's the most universal indicator?
Definitely the hat.
Okay, so
it's definitely the... Is
that the end or the beginning? Or what comes after that is what you're doing?
Or it could be in the middle. I see a lot of guys will tug their hat or something.
And then what comes right after that is what you got to do?
Or before. How
do you know?
You got to
tell you.
Yeah, maybe you got to wait a couple other guys after that and see you got to pick up the signs. Usually for us, Nick Santil, he was in the dugout, and he was always picking up the signs. We'd come in after the first inning, he goes, yeah, this is their signs. And we're like, okay, well, thanks for helping us out. I mean, it was just amazing. He just picked them up. Right? He just picked them up. Definitely.
You got a steal going, or somebody's pitching out or something like that.
And then if you pick up their signs, they try to change them, and then the kids don't pick them up, and then they're in
supposed to be hit and run.
Yeah, miscommunication there, and then it's in our favor.
The little inside games of of baseball. So right now you're playing with the Connecticut
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
Yep.
I was looking up a little bit of stuff on there. You got Mr. Springer playing for Houston.
Yeah,
who was on
Springer.
that team.
Yeah, my coach.
Couple
Coach
of
Springer.
UConn guys. I mean,
yep, UConn guys. He coached Willie on.
Oh, Willie was with you too?
Willie played 2 years ago.
Okay.
I wasn't on the team then, but he also coached Zach Reisdorf.
Okay.
Yep, he coached a ton of guys.
Now both Reisdorf and Jan played up at UConn. We went up and saw Willie this year because I know last year he played for the Titans. This year I think he played for. I think he's playing a Perfect Game League in New York.
Yeah,
or
in New York
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I mean
so.
he's. He is the Jacob deGrom of batters.
Oh, definitely.
Long hair flowing.
His hair,
right?
I mean, I couldn't match him with my hair. I couldn't match it.
Can't do that.
My hair was too thick.
Too much weight coming down.
Too much weight,
sweat.
Definitely. It was all soaked up. I was
we went up and saw him this year, play at UConn, and Coach Penders could not have been happier with finding a kid at it who was a tonic, because he was looking for baseball players who was a tonic.
Definitely. I mean, if you look at his size, you're not going to expect a kid hitting a ball 380 feet, and he's just putting them out.
He batted over, I think he batted near 300 for the whole season.
We took a team trip down there, and he hit well.
Yeah,
he hit well.
Yeah. At third base, I think he's a kid that goes to the field with his uniform dirty, because he's going to hit the ground at some point and do whatever.
Definitely.
And, those are the stories we like to see. And Coach Pender did tell me that we're going to spend more time over here, which is good for you, because in a lot of cases you guys are disadvantaged. Although you do travel, where it's not 12 months a year, you lose 3 months. In a traditional sense, if you're out in California or Florida, you're playing baseball all year long and you never have a bump.
A lot of people say that teams down south, they're a lot better than us because they have all year round. They just play, and they have no winter. Fields are never wet unless it rains. But up here, I like having an off season. Off season, you can rest up, get your body stronger, get your muscles 100% healed. And when you go down south, like we did this past couple weeks, we went down to Tennessee, Virginia. We're beating up on these teams from down south. We're beating them. We're shutting them out. And just the off season, how much work we put in really pays off when we go down south against those teams.
Okay. And that's just because up here in New England, I mean, UConn doesn't start their home schedule until almost May.
Yeah, this year was bad. We didn't start our high school.
Nothing melted until
first 3 games, and
exactly.
Yeah,
Fusions Park
probably still some snow on the ground out there somewhere.
I think somewhere in Boston it melted like 2 weeks ago or
probably,
something.
Yep.
With the winters that we have, but and I think that a young man like yourself will be conscious of when you put the Raider pride across your chest, and you represent your school, and no matter what you do, and down the line you end up being a guy like Scott Langenheim, who he won 5 bowl games, dude.
That's
football.
That's amazing.
Come on. Can you imagine?
Can't get better than that.
Can UConn get to a bowl game? They'd love to. You know what I'm saying?
They would probably die for one.
Yeah. So to go to 5 and to go 5-0. And the line that he had, and other guys from Torrington blocking for Jim Brown. Are you kidding me? Sometimes I think that the northwest corner gets a little shorted because everybody thinks that it's the northwest corner.
There's nobody over there.
All it means is that we don't have a lot of traffic and we can get stuff done.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's not New York City. It's not
Boston
and the rest of it, but we certainly do have our share of of talented players. So your regular season for Blue Jays over right now, right? You went to the championship game, or you still have more coming?
We have one more tournament coming up this weekend in Mass, but then after that, it'll end it. But 3 weeks ago I left, went to Tennessee, then we had a couple days off between then. Went to Virginia. They were both national tournaments.
Okay.
And we made it to the national championship in Tennessee, and we ended up losing 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th inning. I mean, it can't get more devastating than that, but it's just something you got to go off of.
What are those environments like? Where are you playing at?
It's amazing. It doesn't get better than that. I mean, just showing up at the field an hour and a half before the game, knowing it's a national championship. It's win this or go home. It's like, but I mean, we played hard. We were down 4-0 until the bottom of the 7th inning. We pushed 3 runs across, and we had runners on, but we just couldn't do it. But I'm surprised we learned off of it.
Excellent.
It was definitely one of those games that you got to put behind you, take notes of, and just build off of it. And we went down to Virginia, won a bunch of games, made it to the semifinals, and we ended up losing. But It was a good stretch. We have a very young team.
How would you describe yourself as a hitter?
I used to be a pull hitter. I used to try to pull everything. I used to hit it. I used to hit it out. And then I would say last year, my freshman year in high school, during the season, I was hitting the ball everywhere. I was hitting it up the middle. If they throw me outside, I was hitting it right field. I can't hit the inside pitch. Hopefully, nobody's watching this that we're going to be playing against. But I've been working on the inside pitch, but
how do you do that? Just going to the cage or having
going to the cage? You got to work on it a lot.
Move in closer to the plate.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff. And
Inside
this
out's
past
not
year,
there yet?
Huh?
Inside out's not there yet, or that's what you're working on?
Just what we're working on. I'll get there.
Yep.
Maybe get some tips from Jeter. He was amazing. But this past year in high school, I hit the inside pitch a lot better.
Okay.
The inside pitch, I got a fusion and just put him into the river. So
now you guys had a great start to the season when you're pounding out 13, 14, runs a game. A little disappointing towards the end of the year. But what'd you guys learn?
I think after we lost that first game, we were going 8-0, 9-0, and then we came across Oxford and they beat us. It was one of those games like, oh man, our streak's done. But it was also one of those games that you got to build off of. Mm-hmm. You can't go put your head down. You got to keep your head up, and you got to move on from it. And I think some of us, it took longer to get over it. And in a couple games, just our team chemistry just wasn't there, and we lost and lost. Then we won a game here and there, but just wasn't enough to get our chemistry back to where it was when we were going undefeated in the beginning of the season. And you could definitely tell towards the end that our chemistry was not there.
You're going into your junior year. Are you expecting that Coach will be looking for more of his leadership role from you, a vocal one?
I think so, yeah. Last year was my first year being a captain and sophomore captain. I didn't know what to expect out of it.
Seniors around.
There's seniors around. I didn't know what to expect out of it, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of the kids, when you say something, they listen. And the biggest thing this year, I just want to have a lot of team chemistry. I want all of us kids to bond together.
That? Off the field stuff more?
Off the field stuff, on the field stuff. I mean, definitely we have optional practice or optional hitting where just kids that want to go can hit. But I definitely want to get the cages and the fields open more. Like some other sports, they do captain practices where there's no coach, just the kids go.
Okay.
And they practice themselves. I want to get stuff like that so we can bond together and glue together as like a team,
right,
like we did in the beginning of last year, and just hold it through the whole year. And I think that if we hold our own next year, we'll be quite fine.
So winning streaks sometimes work against you along with
sometimes, yeah, because
all of a sudden you're like, hey.
Because you play the same team twice, and you're going to be like, oh, we mercied them, we beat them 10-0, and you play laid back, and then the first inning you're like, oh, man, we're down 5-0. What are we going to do?
Right. And that seemed what happened a couple of times. There were so many games you were up 5-0 in the first inning.
Yeah.
But if you go down early yourself, then it's a question of can you find that, okay,
Definitely.
chip away, 1-1.
It happened against Seymour. We were down 2-1 in the second inning, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, we gotta turn it around, and we ended up pounding out 19 runs that game. 19-2 ended up the final score. So, I mean, we definitely found our bats in the third inning there.
Kind of worked at that point.
Definitely.
Hey, listening to you're watching the Litchfield County Sports Programming. We're used to radio too, so we just don't know which hat we're wearing today.
Yeah.
Tim Gaffney here with Dom Sabia from Torrington High School, going into his junior year this year. Let's talk a little bit about unified sports, because show we had last week had Sharon Pelkey from Special Olympics Connecticut and Scott Langenheim, a Torrington alum, and just a great guy in the community. And you heard the passion that comes out of somebody like Sharon when talking about Special Olympics. And you are one of the mentors for the unified program with Coach Carbone and RJ Ponatowski. Tell us about how you got involved with that and what you got from it.
Well, it all started as Mr. Carbone and RJ came up to me, and they wanted me to do it. And my freshman year, I had seen all the seniors doing it, so I was like, hey, maybe I can get into this next year. And it first started with the fall, the soccer. In the first game we went to, I was kind of nervous. I was like, I don't know what to expect out of it, but it's great when you're out there with all the kids. They're all smiling, and they're having fun, and it really gets them away, and it puts them in a happy place where they could just hang around with the kids, fool around. They just have a blast, and when I see that, I get myself happy. I smile, and just the next day you'll see them in school they'll be wearing their medals that they won, and it's just a great feeling. And I like taking my time and giving it to them.
Right. And I went to the one you had inside, and you were doing. They were doing soccer, then and the rest of it. And I remember when the field was brand new last year.
Yeah,
they were actually. Coach was the first one on.
Yeah,
Coach Carbone, that was the first team that was on there.
Right?
You did. So how good is that? You know, I mean, that gem that you now have is a track and the rest of it, and the field that you can,
nice.
Go on. And as a kid who, and a lot of us cannot relate to what those kids go through because we're not in that situation.
Definitely,
when we talked about. Devin Fair, who was at our banquet and stuff like that. I mean, you saw that young man develop into quite a young man over the last couple of years.
Definitely.
He ran the school store and different things like that.
That
probably helped him come out, right?
Yeah, they definitely grow. I think doing Unified, it gets them more vocal. You see them in school, they'll be calling your name, waving to you. And I think them being together, them being with us, it just gets them more vocal. They show themselves more.
Not intimidated?
No, not intimidated. When they see you in school, they'll come over to you, give you a high five, and it's great.
And, to your guys' credit, I mean, part of one of the big issues that's still in schools and the rest of sometimes is bullying. And I guarantee you one of the people that are, since the beginning of time, has been bullied is someone that would be in Special Olympics. Do you think this is helping break that barrier a little bit? I
think so. I think some of the kids that don't help out, I think they're missing out. They're missing out on a lot of fun stuff. And I think them doing Unified Sports and them being with us and them getting more vocal, I think it'll help them stand up for themselves more. And I think that when people see it, like the Special Olympics on TV, people see that, they see that, wow, they're doing things just like everybody else,
right.
and it's great.
Because I think there's a little of the fear and the ignorance factor there, where folks are not necessarily sure how they should reach out to someone. Kudos to you for attacking, and I hope you continue to attack the bullying situation head on. If you see it in school, do something about it. You're going to be in a position in which you're respected, in your school, because, obviously you guys know now as you've grown up with social media, the bullying online and the rest of it is just, it creates and it causes permanent damage to people.
Definitely.
We always, when computers first came out, was when my kids were younger, and we used to call it computer guts. Because you never would say that to a person's face, but you'll say it in a text or online.
You'll say it over social media, and you'll see the person the next day, and you walk the opposite way from them. They don't do anything in person.
And that's where I think that has failed us. So I would challenge you to make sure that you're that next generation that kind of helps make sure that it stops.
If I see bullying, it's not necessary. Right. There's no need for it.
And I think, part of what, I enjoyed you being part of our banquet in June, and, I expect you there again next year, so we'll see what happens. Got to get another shirt, dude. So
you're
definitely. Sporting it well.
Definitely.
So. Was when, Mayor Eleanor Carbone said that, we had kind of reinstilled the pride in Torrington High School because we had talked about, the negative publicity that the school got for a couple of years, and it wasn't the whole school. It was an incident that happened outside of school grounds, I always make the analogy that if a trumpet player or if a violin player gets in trouble, we don't put their name right in front of. We don't put violin player in robbery, but it's always football player or baseball player because that's how sports is. So I think it's kids that make mistakes, like adults make mistakes, that they're going to pay for the rest of their lives.
Definitely,
and it has nothing to do with sports. So I think we'll continue to make sure that we accentuate the positive of what's going on. At Torrington High School and the rest of it.
Teachers and the staff, they did a great job bringing the school together.
A guy like having Gaitan Rodriguez as your football coach, a social worker who kind of eliminated a lot of the bad apples that were there.
really bringing everybody together.
So August 17th, training camp comes up. So
hey,
the fastest half hour in television is about wrapping up here. I want to thank Billy Neller for manning the controls behind the scenes today, and Doug Harold and the boys here at Cablevision for doing a great job as they do with us. We will be back on the air. We'll tape a couple more shows in August and try to have a few more on for you in August. And Mr. Sabia, a pleasure, sir.
Thank you. I
apologize for being a Met fan. See, Yankee and Met fans can get along, brother.
Yeah,
it's
we
all
get
good,
along,
right?
Hey, so, why not?
That's it for us here at LitchfieldCountySports.com. Have a great night, all. All right, we got it.